What's going on, everyone? So today I'm going to talk to you guys about my favorite discoveries of 2020. I do this every year around January time. I go over my favorite discoveries of the previous year. So instead of doing a designer and then a niche video, I decided to just pick up the absolute top 5 favorite discoveries of designers and top 5 favorite discoveries of niche, combining them in one really cool video for you guys. So these aren't necessarily fragrances that were released last year, but these are definitely my favorite discoveries. Some of them could have been released last year or 2019, but nevertheless, these are the favorite fragrances that I discovered or became in contact or tried for the first time, and they really spoke lengths to me last year. So if you want to know what these discoveries are, stick around. The video's up next. What I'm going to do here to make this fun and fluid, I'm going to do one designer, one niche, one designer, one niche, so forth and so on. So let's start with the first designer here. Now this one here came to me as a surprise. This is a fragrance house that I love, but it's a fragrance house that most people don't really talk about them except for like the Wanted line, which gets a lot of compliments, gets a lot of talks here in the fragrance community, Wanted by Night specifically. But the one I'm talking about here, it's AZZARO, and the collection I'm talking about is going to be the Central Blends collection, released in 2019 for the most part, and they had 2 later releases that were made, I believe, in 2020, which was the Mint and Ginger Lover. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about, for reference here, Wild Mint. Now the whole collection is quite good, but the Wild Mint was definitely my favorite. I absolutely love mint on my fragrances. The mint here, the spearmint in particular, is very predominant. It's up front and center as you spray this fragrance. It has a very aromatic citrus kind of a vibe to the fragrance and some woods and vetiver at the base, but is a great fragrance that you're going to get compliments, you're going to smell great. And it gave me like 8+ hours, which I think for a new designer these days to get 8+ hours is quite a feat, as most fragrances are giving you 5 to 7 if you're lucky. So quite a good release and a cheapie, might I add. So AZZARO per Homme, Central Blends, Wild Mint, definitely one of my favorite discoveries. The whole Central Blends, but in particular the Wild Mint, one of my favorite discoveries of 2020. Now, let's go into a niche here now. This particular brand is a brand that came to me as a surprise when I first found out about it. They were the highlight of Scent Explorer 2020, perhaps one of the most talked about fragrance brands, because not only they're a niche brand, they're very innovative, very creative, but also very affordable for a niche company. Of course, Kieran NYC is another indie brand that I absolutely love, but I haven't discovered them last year. I've actually known about them since 2018, but this particular one I discovered last year, and I'm glad I did. And it's called Precious Liquid, and the fragrance I'm going to talk about today is going to be Vanilla Orchid. Now, the gentleman behind this brand, in of itself is a great gentleman, a lot of fun to be around. He's very knowledgeable. He's actually the gentleman that produced a couple Tom Ford private blends, including Oud Wood, which is Tom Ford private blends top selling fragrance when it comes to private blends from Tom Ford. It's their #1 selling fragrance. So this guy has an extensive background. He's a very good nose, and Vanilla Orchid is a great fragrance. Now, not only this fragrance, but the whole collection of Precious Liquid has something for everyone. They're very aromatic. They're very innovative. They're very well blended. This one in particular, of course, has the floral aspect, has some creaminess to it, has some spiciness, but the vanilla here is done like a vanilla bourbon type of a vibe, and also has figs in it. So it's very unique. The dry down, it gets really creamy, almost like a creme brulee. It's not a gourmand fragrance, but instead a very well executed vanilla scent with a floral / fruity undertone. Amazing, guys. Check out this brand. It's got some really cool stuff, and I'm sure you're going to find something you enjoy. Now, going to another favorite discovery of mine of last year is going to be from another underrated house that don't get much talked about. And there are 3 underrated designer brands that I always talk to you guys about. You should definitely consider checking out. Issey Miyake is one of them. Cartier is another one. And the third one is definitely this one here, which is Salvatore Ferragamo. And the fragrance we're talking about here is Oud pour Homme. Now, even though it's called Oud pour Homme, it's not really a predominant oud-based scent. There's perhaps oud here, but it's way in the background, very faint, very subdued. What you do get here is a gorgeous leather. And I said this before, and I'll say it again, this should have been called Leather pour Homme, or Insatiable Leather, or a Leather Supreme, something along those lines, because what this is, guys, it's a perfect leather-based scent. It is absolutely fantastic. One of my favorites. If you want to know more about this, I'm not going to go too deep into these fragrances. I'm going to pop it up here. I did a full review on this one. One thing is for sure, this is a masterpiece. Amazing. This is an instant classic. If you like fragrances like Bel Ami, for instance, you're going to love this one. It's like a modern take on that fragrance. We'll just leave it at that. So definitely one of my favorite discoveries, Salvatore Ferragamo Oud pour Homme. Now, this particular fragrance here comes from a line which is a collection within this brand that I wasn't really familiar with. I knew their dark line, which was their signature or main collection, but I didn't really know anything about the White Woods collection. And when I found out about this collection, this one here, I tried the whole line, one shot, and this one here just stood out to me. And of course, this is from AMOUROUD Wet, and the fragrance we're talking about is the White Woods collection, and the fragrance is Wet Stone. Now, Wet Stone is going to be essentially an aquatic citrus. Oh my God, it smells so good. It's a citrus aromatic / aquatic fragrance. It's got this mineral vibe to it, but there's also oud in here. There's also some spices. I like to call this a fruity aquatic with a backbone. This is a very long-lasting aquatic fragrance. It's extremely compliment-inducing. Definitely one of my favorite discoveries of last year. You know, this stuff here is not in a countdown. I'm basically telling you my top 10 favorite discoveries of last year, period. All fragrances here are great, you know, on their own, and every single fragrance here will offer you something that's definitely worth checking out. So Wet Stone, a great aquatic fragrance that's citrus, that's aromatic, and it's got some unique components that makes it a standout fragrance. Definitely one of my favorite for the spring and summer. It's definitely something that I reach out for a lot. I wore this a lot last year. I believe it made my top one, my number one fragrance in the top picks of my rotation for, I believe, the summertime of last year. And it's definitely going to make perhaps even my spring and summer lines, you know, top picks in my rotations, because I love this stuff so much. So enough said. Wet Stone, great find for me, great discoveries. I'm glad to have found this White Woods collection. And there's a new one that I'll be sharing with you soon that I've been wearing now and testing, which is called Himalayan Wood, which is also from the White Woods collection. So let's jump into a designer release now. We're going to do back-to-back underrated houses. Now we're going to talk about Nuit Noir Argent. This is from Issey Miyake. Now this is going to be a spicy, fruity, incense type of a fragrance. Very unique. There's frankincense here. There's a ton of cardamom, spices. There's a beautiful fruity note in here. It's a little bit smoky, but it's another one that's great for compliments, and it's quite unique. There's nothing in your designer counter similar to this stuff. And so much so, I think this was made exclusive to the Dubai Middle Eastern market, so you're probably not going to find this fragrance at your general store. But I highly suggest you guys checking this out at your favorite discounter. Of course, you can find this at fragrancebuy.ca, which is the partner of the Max Forti channel. And you're going to not only find this fragrance, but you're going to find the whole line of Issey Miyake fragrances, which is just absolutely stunning. I love the brand. Not so much their citrus aromatic fragrances. I think they're nice, but they're not as long-lasting or as powerful, and not as unique. But their dark collection, the stuff that comes to the Middle East, the European market, is definitely where it's at. So Noir Argent, one of my favorite discoveries, and again, one that gave me a lot of compliments. Just smells unique, very amazing. Ladies love this particular scent profile. So if you haven't tried anything from Issey Miyake yet, this will be a great one to get your feet wet, so to speak. Noir Argent from Issey Miyake. Now we're going to go back to the niche side of things. Now this particular one is also from a house that I discovered at AZZARO in 2019, but really didn't dive into the brand too much. But this past year, 2020, I really dove into the brand and found some incredible gems that I absolutely love. This particular one is called New York Intense. Now you guys are probably getting tired and sick of me talking about this one, but it's an absolutely stunning fragrance. What this reminds me of, it's a spicier, darker version of Amouage's Jubilation 25. So if you like that fragrance, I know you're gonna like this. This is resinous, it's opulent, it's regal. It just smells amazing. There's so much going on in this fragrance, guys. It is just one of those fragrances that you can't dismiss. If you're wearing this and you walk into a room, people are inevitably gonna ask you, what are you wearing? You smell amazing. Fragrance de Bois, New York Intense, one of my favorite discoveries of last year. And I'm glad to dive deeper and deeper into this fragrance brand, because I think it's, from the niche side of things, a very underrated house. Now it's privately owned, so they do a lot of things the way I like to get things done, which is without constraints, with the freedom of creation. They can utilize ingredients that otherwise companies would probably not use too much. So guys, dive into this brand. If you're not familiar with it, really pay attention to the fragrance du Bois. They're doing something exquisite and special when it comes to the niche side of things, guys. Let's jump back into the designer now. Another release that for years I wanted to try. Always heard about it here and there, but never really pulled the trigger. And I'm talking about a fragrance that I've actually received last year. I was ready to pull the trigger, but somebody said, hey Max, I'll gift this to you as your birthday gift. And I'm so glad they did. I'm talking about Brioni For Men. Now this fragrance here, I believe, was released in 2015. Like I said, for many years, I've been wanting to pull the trigger, but never actually did. This is an exquisite fragrance, guys. Absolutely fantastic. Smells amazing. Very unique. Very intriguing. There's definitely this fruity, spicy, smoky facet to this fragrance. There's a gorgeous note of cedar wood here. If you love cedar, this is going to be a masterpiece when it comes to cedar, base scents. It's cedar, it's spices, it's woody, almost has like this leathery undertone. Absolutely fantastic. Compliment inducing. Ladies will love the way you smell. And it's one of those boss CEO type scents. It doesn't come cheap, guys, but it's one that I would highly recommend you guys checking out if you haven't checked out anything that's really intriguing or unique over the past few years when it comes to designer brands. I think Brioni did a great job with this one. And I believe there's another one from this one here, which is a Parfum edition, which is a darker bottle that I haven't had the pleasure to try, but I'd love to try if I could get my hand on. It's also one that I hear some good things about. Now Brioni, I think because it's highly priced and you can't really find it at discounters, I think it's the reason why people don't really talk much about them. And they're not known to make fragrances. I think they only have like 2 or 3 fragrances in their portfolio. But Brioni For Men is definitely one of my favorite discoveries of last year that I'm glad to share with you today. Jumping back to the niche side of things. Now, this is a fragrance house that's very underrated. Hardly any talks here. It got a little momentum last year around spring and summertime. And I'm glad to have this one in my collection. They're a brand that are based in Sweden. So European brand. And the name of the brand is called Swedoft. And the fragrance I'm going to share with you today is called Rasputin, or Rasputin. Now, this particular fragrance is going to be very, very fruity, very aromatic, and a little bit spicy. But it has this almost eucalyptus, minty type of a vibe to it with honey that it just makes it so special to me because I love eucalyptus and I love honey in my fragrances. And I think it was done to perfection here, guys. And another thing about this fragrance, too, is I kept it hush, and I didn't really talk much about this fragrance last year. But I have to tell you, not only was it one of my favorite discoveries of last year, but the little that I wore this fragrance, which wasn't that many times, I think I wore this about 6 or 7 times, but every single time I wore this fragrance, especially in the first hour or two, I've always gotten positive remarks. People said, wow, you smell really good today. What is it you have on today? So it is one of those fragrances that are going to captivate and get you positive notices. So it is one that perhaps I will be wearing a lot this year. It might even make my top spring, which is coming up soon, niche fragrances to wear because I'm really digging this one. So Rasputin, one of my favorite discoveries from last year. Some of the notes here include oud, pineapple, tonka beans, cinnamon, cloves, white musk, and of course I get that little wild honey / eucalyptus vibe in this fragrance as well. Amazing discovery from last year, one that I'm glad to share with you guys, and you should definitely consider checking out if you're looking for something unique and off the beaten path. Now, the last one here from the designer's side is one that was released in 2017, and it is criminally underrated, and I think I've only seen a handful of people talk about this fragrance. Granted, it is hard to find, and I think it has been discontinued too, so that may contribute to the fact that it is not really talked about, but I highly recommend you guys trying this fragrance or trying to get at least a decant because it is nothing short of spectacular. And I'm talking about Bottega Veneta Pour Homme Parfum. Now, this is a 2017 release, as I said. It's a gorgeous dark leather. Think of a black leather which contains all this spices, saffron, some floral undertones. This is just incredible, guys. It's perfect. It would make a lot of my top, cold weather videos this year. It just didn't make it because, again, it is hard to find. I think it has been discontinued, hence the fact that I discovered this early last year, but really didn't make my top videos because I didn't want to share something so amazing with you guys and you guys not be able to try. You probably hate me right now for saying how amazing this is, but this is an incredible dark leather fragrance, guys. If you can get a hold of this and it's still available in your neck of the woods, I would say pull the trigger. And by the way, if you can get a bottle of this, please do get in touch with me because I'd love to get a backup bottle. Bottega Veneta Pour Homme Parfum, definitely my favorite discover of designers last year. My favorite fragrance from the designer realm of things that I had the ability and the opportunity to try. Definitely try. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? I think this whole Bottega Veneta Pour Homme collection is actually pretty good. I own all of them. Maybe I'll share it with you in a good, bad, ugly, underrated from this house, because I think the Pour Homme is very underrated, and I think it's a collection that is really more deserving of your attention. The last fragrance I'm going to share with you today is, without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite discovery, niche fragrance from 2020, guys. This is a fragrance house that I'm so glad to have discovered. I'm very happy to share with you. They were actually at Scent Explorer 2020. The best way I like to describe this company is if you took and mashed two Italian houses. If you took Mascamilano, which has great creativeness and tremendous quality of ingredients, and you mashed it with Nasomato, which is like one of the most bold, daring, and powerful fragrances when it comes to niche fragrances. You put them together, you get this tremendous Italian niche house, which is from Pompeii, and the house we're talking about is Agatho Parfums, and the fragrance here is called Castiamonte. I guess the best way to describe this is like a leathery saffron type of a fragrance, which contains incense, spices, jasmine. There's a floral aspect here, and a gorgeous ambery, woody dry down. Just amazing. One word to describe this: heavenly. Check out this brand. I think it's definitely very underrated. We haven't really heard much about this brand, but that's going to change. I think over the next couple of years, Agatho Parfums will really make a great impression here in the fragrance community, because they are quality, they're very unique, and they're ahead of the game. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. If you guys appreciate what I do here, if you do enjoy the content, please don't forget to hit the little like button, touch the subscriber for more, and of course, hit the little bell icon so you get videos like these straight into your feed. As always, remember, fragrance is an extension of who you are. It's, something that gives you that edge. That's the ultimate and final accessory. So be sure to choose your fragrance wisely, and of course, wear what truly moves you. I will see you guys right back here with another video very soon. Take care.